Are you in a job that you don't hate, but you also don't love it? It's got a lot of issues. It's annoying. You're frustrated with it, but it's not quite bad enough to make you want to leave, to make you put forth that time and effort to actually look for a new job and to go through the uncomfortableness of starting something new. Well, if that's you, what do you do? Like, do you just keep toughing it out, being a little bit miserable? You could, of course, but today I want to talk about some options and ways that you can actually improve your job. Hi, my name is Michelle. I'm a practicing PA, and this is my channel, The Medicine Couch. And today, this is video number 2 in a series that I am doing about how to craft a career that you really love, how to build something that's fulfilling to you and that is sustainable. The first video in this series was how to recognize if you're in a toxic work environment. Some of you may be thinking, well, isn't that easy to know if you're in a toxic environment? But surprisingly, it's kind of like being in a toxic relationship. Sometimes you don't recognize it when you're in it. But in this video today, the first thing I want to talk about is mindset, how you think about your job. And that's important because how you think about something affects everything about it. Those patients who only focus on their pain, like you can't redirect them, you can't get them to go to cognitive behavioral therapy, you can't get them to pick up hobbies. All they want to do is talk about why they can't do it because of their pain. They want to focus on their pain. That's all that they want to talk about. Understandable, they're in pain, and pain is awful. Like being in a job that you don't like is awful. But focusing on it is not helpful. In fact, it's making it worse, right? The more that your brain focuses on something, the bigger it becomes in your mind. So if all you're thinking about is your chronic pain and all you're doing is talking about it, then that's what your brain is going to focus on. It's actually going to make the pain worse. Well, it's the same thing if you're always bitching and complaining about your job, always thinking about and talking about the negatives about it. That's all your brain is going to focus on. And you're not going to be able to see the positives. You're not going to have a good mindset about your job. You're going in automatically assuming it's going to kind of suck a little bit. And then as things happen during the day, you're like, yep, see, more of the same old. But if you change that mindset a little bit, then you're looking at your job in a whole different way. If you are thinking about the positives and expecting positives, lo and behold, you'll have more positives. Not because there's more positives, but because your brain is trained to look at them and to find the positives. And just that little bit mind shift can make all the difference in your enjoyment of your job and or giving you more energy and will to actually make some changes. So that's the important part, to start with mindset. And this isn't about gaslighting yourself and making and saying, oh, everything is great when it's not. You can be realistic, but you can also identify the good things because almost every job does have good things. So how do you do that? How do you change your mindset? Well, really, it starts with being dedicated to opening your mind to and looking for the positives, right? Pay attention to interactions in your workplace. Look at your workflows. And if something like gets handled easily and effectively, recognize it and write it down. Like take note of the fact that, hey, this process actually works really well in our clinic. Or your EMR, surely there's one thing at least about your EMR that it does that you like. Figure out what that is, write it down. Think about employees, which ones are effective, which ones are pleasant to be around, make your day a little bit brighter. Write those down. And I keep saying write it down because it's one thing to have this nebulous thoughts in our mind. It's another thing, it makes it more concrete when we put it down, write it on paper or put a list on your computer. And then you also can look back and see all of these things that are positives. And that is helping to reinforce this training of your brain. So once you identify things that are positives and have them written down, that's going to make it easier for you to see what works, to figure out why it works, and to be able to apply it to other things in the office. The next thing that I want to talk about that kind of goes along with mindset is setting boundaries. Again, another thing that people may be like, that's kind of woo-woo, or, that's the young kids all have these boundaries. I hear you. I'm with you. I'm about to be 56, and setting boundaries was never something we talked about in our careers. You just handled whatever the workplace threw at you, and you just dealt with it, and you just took it. And there's merit in that. It builds character. There's good things about being able to, rise above things that are wrong. But there's also merit, and it shouldn't be dismissed. The things that the younger people are saying, the younger generation, and they're standing up and they're refusing to just take everything that's thrown at them. So you have to kind of strike a balance, and you have to be realistic in your boundaries. But I think that setting boundaries are a good thing. Sometimes they're setting boundaries for yourself. Sometimes they're setting boundaries in the practice. So let's look at a few examples. Checking your work emails or checking your inbox when you're not at work. Set some boundaries for yourself that when you leave work, leave it behind to the best that you can. Not always possible, but when it's a choice to check things, don't do it. Keep work at work, keep your home life separate. Other boundaries you could set would be your lunch break. I challenge you to try to carve out 15 minutes or at least 10 minutes for your own time, whether it's to eat your lunch in peace instead of shoving it in your face while you're doing other things, or whether it's going for a quick walk around the building or doing a little stretching. Could even be like just listening to some music. Whatever it is that helps you relax and clear your mind, having that little relaxation, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes, has been shown to go so far in rejuvenating you and helping you come back to your work with a fresh mindset. So it actually can help you with the second half of your day to be more efficient and effective. Another boundary is you could set on non-clinical tasks that are being assigned to you by administration. Maybe it's something that is just like busy work that is causing you added stress and taking away from patient care time or charting time. So if that's the case, then talk to administration about it. And that leads to the next point, which is improving your communication skills in the office. Well, for one thing, you can't go in kind of just complaining and in a huff and just kind of letting out all your frustrations at once. That's not effective. What administration is going to hear is you complaining about processes that they have put into place, and they're going to hear you saying that they're not doing a good job and that the office is a disaster and it's their fault. And so what is that going to do? It's going to make them feel defensive and not open to your suggestions and your ideas. So you have to be methodical about this. Think it through a little bit, formulate what you're going to say. Like for the boundaries, you could say, look, I notice about myself that I'm not good when I'm being pulled in multiple directions at once, that I feel like I could be more effective if I didn't have to participate in XYZ. Or if you want to talk about some changes that you want to bring up, you could say something like, I really would like to be more effective or have more fulfillment in my job. I've been thinking about it and I've got some ideas I'd like to run past you. That way you're communicating that you want to work on things and make things better, and that you've been thinking about it, and that you are coming to them with ideas instead of just dumping something in their lap and hoping that they're going to fix it. Most likely they are going to receive that in a much better frame of mind, and they're going to be much more open to your suggestions. Now, if you have difficulty with figuring out how to say these things and how to phrase them, then this is where AI can really help you. If you haven't used AI, I would urge you to get used to using it. You're going to be using it at work more and more, so you might as well get familiar with it and understand it. So say, for instance, you use a program like ChatGPT, just the free program, or Gemini, or whatever one you have access to. And you can type this paragraph of kind of what you want to say. It doesn't have to be professional. It doesn't have to have good punctuation. You can let all your attitude and your frustrations out. But then this is where the magic happens. You ask ChatGPT to then rewrite what you wrote to be more concise, more professional, to have an open, inviting tone. And it's going to take it and it's going to rewrite it just in the tone that you're looking for. And then you can take that and put it in an email, or you can tweak it a little bit more for your own words, or you can just use it to start learning how to communicate better. Next, I want to talk about professional development. Sometimes our frustrations in our jobs come from the fact that we are not 100% comfortable in our knowledge base. And so that means that we need to improve our knowledge base. And you may be wanting to do that, but don't know how to approach it. I would suggest to pick the condition that you see the most in your practice, or one of the most. Think about where you're the weakest in, whether it's treating or whether it's physical exam or whether it's remembering to ask the important questions in the HPI. Write it down and start watching videos, looking at the different societies like the American Heart Association or whatever, and read through guidelines, read through how they suggest you treat it, go to Up to Date, take some CME courses, whatever you need to. I would spend about 2 to 4 weeks on just that one topic. You don't have to study every day, but really get that topic solidified in your mind. Have the medicines picked out. They're going to be like your go-to medicines, right? And with dosing written down. And write down anything that you need to remember to tell the patient about that medication. Physical exam. What are the most important physical exam findings that I need to make sure that I document and that I think about? What questions do I have to ask in the HPI? So you can get that all done, and then you can make them into dot phrases, macros, whatever you use in your EMR. So if you do that and you've got like 4 or 5 conditions like really nailed down and you really know them much better than you did before, think about how much easier it's going to be, how much less mentally taxing it's going to be when you know that information. And when we're thinking about professional development, also think about good CME courses that you can take that really excite you or that really help you learn. I talk a lot on this channel about CME for Life because I think it's one of the best CME programs out there. John Belinsky is the PA who owns that company and runs the courses. He just has a teaching style that resonates with me. I'll link a video up here I did of a review of one of his courses I took, and you can watch it and see if it's something that's right for you. Or maybe you do some CME, like I said, on a topic that excites you, like maybe wilderness medicine CME. It may get you out of your kind of normal rut and may get you excited about medicine again. Or maybe it's taking a certification course, like becoming a certified diabetes educator, or maybe improving your skills like, suturing, IND, learning joint injections. I recently took a 2-day skills course that I reviewed, and I'll put that link up here as well. Just going to CME and being around other providers, there's something exciting about it, and it helps you feel more confident when you get back to clinic. In addition, you can think about non-clinical things that you may want to study or learn about that can help you feel rejuvenated or refreshed. It's kind of an oxymoron. We think, well, I don't want to add more things to my plate if I'm already kind of burnt out and a little tired. But sometimes doing an activity that we enjoy or that's new or challenging can really kind of spark our energy levels and our creativity. So you may think about taking like a medical legal consulting course. I interviewed a PA who started her own medical legal consulting business, and she took that course. She talks about it in this video up here. Not only will it probably add to your professional fulfillment, but it'll make you a good candidate in the future if you decide to do something else or to go for a new job. The next thing to look at are what kind of micro changes can you make in your practice that are going to have kind of a macro effect. Everything doesn't have to change all at once, and it doesn't have to be a big major change to help you have more enjoyment in your day, to help your day go more smoothly. So I'm talking about little things like the dot phrases I talked about earlier. If you're like me, many times I'm come across something, I'm like, oh, I really should make a dot phrase for this or put this together. But I just never do. I kind of put it off. And every time I encounter that, that's a piece of friction that doesn't have to be there. Coming up with good dot phrases and templates is probably one of the best things you can do to make things so much easier and to make you more efficient. Maybe it's just building a bright spot into your day. Like if you see that there's a patient on your schedule that you really love, then maybe spend an extra 5 minutes with that patient. Sure, yes, it may push you behind, but if that encounter energizes you and makes you feel good about your job, then indulge in it for a few minutes. Or maybe it's connecting with a coworker that you really like. Spend a few extra minutes talking to that colleague and making a connection for that day. Or maybe it's devising a great playlist that you rock out to in your car on the way to and from work, or maybe it's listening to an audiobook that you've really wanted to hear for a long time. Give yourself some special treat that's going to make your day a little bit brighter. Again, these are all small things, but they can make your job a little bit more enjoyable. But next is those big changes, the systemic problems that are causing the major hassles in your job. And that's going to be things like having way too many patients on the schedule, not having enough staff, having poor workflows. It's not easy to change them, and you may not be able to change them, but you still can address them with management. There may be things that they don't understand how big the problem is. So if you can really define it for them and really help them see it from your point of view, perhaps it will become a major issue for them and they will work on it some more. But also think about what part of the process you have control over and what you can change. Your schedule. Maybe you can't see fewer patients, but maybe there's a way that the schedule can be arranged a little bit better and you can work with the front desk staff to help them understand the thinking behind why you place certain patients in different slots. Or maybe it's strategically putting in blocks in your schedule after longer, more difficult patients, or conversely after patients that are just here for quick follow-ups so that you can catch up on other things. Maybe it's figuring out the best way, like we talked about earlier with communication, of how to suggest ideas or how to give constructive criticism so that things change for the better. And like I said earlier, when you identify things that work, things that maybe your MA does that's really great, talk to your MA and thank them for doing that and tell them about how much that really helps. And say, maybe we could think of some other things, other processes that will help the workflow be better and less frustrating for both of us, and listen to their suggestions. But again, it all starts with really objectively looking at your job and seeing what is good and what can be changed. Now, if you bring all this to attention of management, you try to make different changes, and you're just being met with a brick wall, nothing is changing, nobody has interest in changing anything, well, at least that's data for you. It's feedback. It helps you see whether this is a place you want to keep working at or whether maybe it's finally time to leave and find a new job. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the next video in this series, is how to identify what it is you truly want in a job that's going to make you happy. Because you need to know that before you go job searching. Because if you do, you're going to have a much greater chance of landing a job that you're really going to love. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this has helped somebody make some changes. If you've done that, if you've made changes in your job before that have been positive, then put that down below in the comment section. Kind of tell us what you did and how you went about making that change. And as always, take care, stay sane, and I'll see you next time on the Medicine Couch. Bye.